Hello and welcome to this special FEJ interview today with Joe Tansley, the chef and publican at the Bell and Cross in Worcestershire, which is connected to the EI Publican partnerships. Welcome, Joe. Good to see you. Obviously.
Hi, Andrew. Hi, how are you? Good to see you.
Yeah, very well, thank you. How are you? It doesn't look too hot there at the moment.
No, it's quite nice. Quite a nice breeze today. Hoping for lots of sun over the weekend.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, we're speaking to you at a really significant moment in time because you're getting set to reopen in a few days. Just to go back a step. Obviously, when the pubs were asked to close back in March, how did you react to that at the time?
I suppose we tried to preempt as best we could, and it was more by luck and judgment that we got it right, I think. So we started doing takeaway 2 weeks prior to lockdown. We had some initial interest. It was good. It was ticking over. It was sort of washing its face, but wasn't huge. Then lockdown hits, and then we locked down at the pub for 2 weeks to make sure we had 2 weeks of clearance and our health was okay, and our families, obviously, their homes were secure. And 2 weeks after, we cracked on, and it's gone from strength to strength. Every week it gets busier on the takeaway, which we're going to continue after we reopen on the 4th of July with our lovely beer garden.
Right. Okay. So, were you ever planning to do takeaway prior to the pandemic, or has it forced you into that sort of business model?
It's absolutely forced us into the business model, and I'm happy it has done, actually, because it's opened my eyes slightly. I think that as chefs, we can kind of have an ego about takeaway foods, and you can still have really good takeaway foods, providing that the steps are followed and you make sure that consistency is there, which we absolutely think is key, and we try to do with every single customer, every cover we serve.
How have you managed the menu side? Is it a case of creating versions of the existing menu for takeaway, or have you had to develop a whole new menu?
I think we've had some classics that we do at the pub. We've got a twice baked 3-cheese souffle, which has been on from day one at the menu. And then we've had to adapt along the way. We've got bladed beef with chicken stock glazed carrots and different more potatoes and some lovely seasonal greens, and that's been on the menu from day one as well. But yeah, we have had to adapt because I think when people have a takeaway, they have an expectation of variety and what they'd like. So the menu is quite sizable. We are scaling it back slightly this weekend to make sure that we can both sustain and carry on with takeaway and also serve the covers in the garden that will be coming in from July the 4th.
Okay. Have you been surprised by any of the trends that you've seen in takeaway in terms of what customers are ordering?
It's been a bit of a strange one. We started adding dishes to the menu from the first week. Every week we'd change, and then the menu got to a stage where we had sort of 13 main courses on. And a chef friend of mine, local chef friend, and obviously adventure in, said, "You've got a lot of main courses there, chef." I said, "I know." They said, "Why don't you take some off?" And I said, "Well, because they all sell. There's nothing really that sells better than anything else." So on an average week, we've been doing between 600 to 800 covers and takeaway. We have broken over the 1,000, which was very, very exciting. And we never thought in our wildest dreams that we'd achieve that. But it's been really, really good. So we have seen trends. It goes week on week, really, covers wise. And the more people speak about it, the more people discover us. And the further afield we travel to do our deliveries, and the further people to travel to collect.
Sure. Can you give us some insight into what your kitchen is like? The kind of setup that you've got there.
Absolutely. So when we refurbished the pub, it was quite extensive refurbishments. We had a problem with space. It's a small kitchen. There's no getting around that. And when sort of pre-COVID, we'd have 6 or 7 in there, which is amazing when you see the size. It's small. We're obviously going to have to reduce the staff that are in there when we reopen on July the 4th, because we need more chefs in to cope with the extra sort of 100 covers in the garden. In the booth we've got round the exterior, which you can see I'm sat in one now. But yeah, it's small, packed full of all the sort of latest kit, and we try to do sort of modern, unpretentious with food.
Okay. And your style of cooking, you're cooking a lot on things like induction, or is it traditional gas cooking? How would you describe that?
We've got both. We've got 2 indies in the kitchen, which we use on the large and the pastry, and move the on the back into the prep area. But then we have gas as well. So we've got blue steel stuff all through the kitchen, salamander, target top, 4-range, double gas fryer, char grill. So there's a lot of kit in a very, very small space.
Did you find that when you started developing the takeaway dishes, you're using the same equipment and processes as you would for the normal dine-in menu, or you had to adapt anything?
Absolutely, it really hasn't changed as far as that goes. We use all the kit that's in there and try to utilise it, and make it as efficient as possible to make sure we can serve as many people in the same consistent way.
Yeah, okay. And you mentioned earlier that you're looking to continue the takeaway model, once the pub is back open again.
Yeah, it shan't stop now.
Right. Okay. You said it was a small kitchen. Does that pose particular challenges for you in terms of juggling both?
Yeah, it does a little bit. I think the problem we're going to have is less chefs in the kitchen, but also we can be efficient with doing different teams. So we're going to have teams of chefs coming in and coming out throughout the course of the day. Right.
Okay. So quite a lot to think about now moving forward. Then how you kind of manage the space and the menu.
Hugely, it's a never-ending story.
Yeah. And in terms of preparing to get the site back open again, what kind of considerations have you had to make over the last few weeks?
There's been a lot more risk assessments going in place, a lot more protocol, a lot more training of staff. We had a group training session in the garden yesterday for about 17, 18 of us, and we all sat in the booths, which I'll show you in a bit. And we kept our distance, and it's just protocol, it's just training, it's just making sure that everyone understands their responsibility, and also letting the staff know to let the customers know of their responsibilities as well.
Has it required a big investment from you to kind of get COVID ready, if you like?
Yeah, it's been substantial. Obviously, we've had to restock the pub with your standard, your wine, your beer, your stock on hand for the kitchen, which obviously pushed everything up. And then the marquees we've put in have got a good price, but they've been expensive. And we've got toilets going in the car park, sort of a trailer, sort of a posh trailer, if you like, of porter toilets. So we can make sure the pub's completely locked down inside and it's safe for staff and for customers alike.
Yeah. Well, obviously, in the last couple of weeks, there's been a big focus on the fact that social distancing guidelines have gone from 2 meters down to 1, which is clearly been a big talking point for commercial kitchens and pub operators. What was your reaction to that news? Will that make a significant difference for you?
I think it doesn't. It makes it easier outside to serve. Inside, it's a bit of a labyrinth of a pub, and all the romance of the pub, which I took over and sort of purchased the Laurel lease on. The benefit of it was small, it was intimate. There were different rooms which we could make customers sort of have a nice sort of special experience, if you like. Whereas now it's a bit more complicated. So I've taken the step, if you'd like, not to open inside of the pub for the first month, so to let everyone calm down a bit, because I think the excitement is going to be huge from a lot of people, and we don't want to get overrun. I want to make sure that the product we're offering is consistent. And then we shall look to open middle of August inside the pub for families in a bubble of 2, if you'd like. So, but there's going to need to be a lot of sort of protocol, which will take a bit more time.
Yeah. And have you had any support or correspondence with other pubs within the EI group community about how they're managing this process?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's been good. I mean, I've had a lot of sort of back and forth conversations with EI themselves. Did a video for the website about how we do our takeaway and the steps we've taken, which I believe they've put on their sort of homepage, which was nice of them. And just, for the regional manager, Matt Obery, who looks after the sort of West Midlands, he's been fantastic. The guys in the office have been really, really helpful and supportive, and the packages they've put in place have helped us a lot.
Yeah, just going back a step to what you mentioned there about the chef team that you have. When they come into work now, for the next foreseeable future, is life going to be a bit different for them in terms of the way they work and operate in the kitchen?
Yeah, a little bit, absolutely. I think that we are a family here. So normally, sort of pre-COVID, it's coming in, it's hugs all around, and hi, how are we doing? And there were coffee in the morning and all bon me, which is great. But we need to be really, really careful to make sure that we protect ourselves and our customers alike. So 1 in, 1 out of the changing rooms every morning. They're going to have to wear masks when the 14 come back. Anyone inside will have to wear masks, and that's going to be mandatory. I've given the staff outside the option to wear masks, but if they come into the building, they must wear a mask. So yeah, it's going to change. It'll take a couple of weeks to get the adjustments sort of sorted out. But I'm sure we'll get used to it. We're going to have to.
Yeah, I understand you're having a pizza oven built today. Is that an outdoor pizza oven?
It certainly is, yeah. So it arrived last week, and I've got my handy bricklayer up there laying it as we speak, actually.
Okay, and is that as a consequence of, you know, the situation we're in and the fact that outdoor dining is probably going to lend itself more to the current situation?
Definitely, and I just like the fact as well that, I mean, we use the rationale every night to slow cook things in, and I think that, you know, if I've got the embers and the pizza oven, I can slow cook in there every night. You know, do fresh breads every day, and obviously pizza during service, which, you know, Higgs have a fantastic sort of brick-fired oven pizza. It's outside in the sun.
Perfect.
And cold beer.
were you doing outside dining previously, or have you had to really step up your offer on that side now?
We were doing outside dining, but we really had to step it up, because in effect we've moved the restaurant outside. That's what we've done. And I think the only benefit to this is that we can see the entire dining room, if you like. Whereas inside before, we needed a lot more staff to cover a room, which was tricky sometimes.
Sure. Okay. And then just finally, you know, moving forward, do you think, you know, events of the last few months, are they going to have a significant impact on future sort of pub food trends or future, you know, dining trends in the pub sector?
Yes, I think they will. I think that people have got to sort of be diverse and dynamic in what they offer. I think menus across the board will be slightly smaller, and I think that there's going to be a definite impact with suppliers, and, you know, making sure we can get hold of the correct stock, and a lot more pre-planning than there was before. And there was always a lot of pre-planning with us, and I'm sure other businesses too. But yeah, I think it's going to have an impact for quite a while.
Thanks a lot, Joe. That was a great insight into the challenges that you've faced over the last few months. We obviously wish you well on Saturday and beyond. And yeah, if you're okay to give us a little tour of the garden and the pizza oven being built, that would be great.
3 marquees. This is the largest one with 4 pods. So obviously table on each side. You've got clear partitioning, which will clean obviously before and after customers enter, to make sure that we're following all the hygiene procedures. And we've got a bank of 3 over here. Little bit of building site still until we get obviously set for the weekend. And then in the centre here is going to be an additional 5 tables with wicker trellising, quite high wicker trellising, making sure we have a segregated partition. And then we have 2 more down here. And then we have our horse box, which will act in effect as a ordering servery for people that can't use the QR code technology that we have in place. And then at the top, we have our pizza oven currently being built. So we're placing it, sorry, excuse the barrels, they're doing collection tomorrow. You can see the pizza oven base is being built as we speak.